Welcome back to the Corporate Burnouts Podcast. Hey, Mandy, how are you?
Doing so good. How are you?
I'm good. A little under the weather, so pardon the crazy voice today.
I think that it's the Phoebe sexy voice. You remember when she was so
Oh,
excited about
I'll
singing
take
that
it.
song when she was all like nasally?
Yeah,
Yeah, you're
you
Phoebe.
want me to sing Smelly Cat for you?
Um, Actually we do.
No,
No.
it's just not gonna happen. So sorry to let you down. We are meeting someone new for the first time today, or at least I am, so that is not the first impression that I would like to give our guest.
She said she wants you to sing it. She said that that
No.
is
Absolutely, I
that
do.
is the perfect first
Uh-huh.
impression.
The smelly cat, smelly cat.
Too
Fantastic.
much.
All right. Well, I am really excited. We do have a guest today. Mandy, take a minute, introduce our new friend, and get us started, and we'll edit that part out.
Yes. All right, I want to introduce everyone to Caleena. Caleena is somebody who I've known for a couple of years with Little Black Book. She left corporate and now has a successful business, life coaching, massage therapy, Reiki. I'm excited for y'all to learn what Reiki is if you don't already, because it really helped change my whole everything more than therapy, more than anything. So I'm excited for you to tell people about that. But she's just a wealth of knowledge when it comes to health and wellness, and I am excited to let you all hear her story. So, Kalina, why don't you tell us where you came from, and we'd love to hear a corporate story first.
Awesome. Well, hi, everyone. My name's Caleena Karstens. I am currently a Reiki practitioner, massage therapist, and health and life coach, like you guys said. And I came from the corporate world in the hospital realm. I was a hospital manager for registration for about 4 years. I worked in the hospital for about 10. I started as a registrar in the ED at one of our local hospitals and was there for 4 years, and got my first promotion to supervisor and went to a children's hospital. And I was there for about 2 years. That was fun because when I started there, there was three supervisors and a manager. And within the first 6 months of me starting that new position, all of them were gone besides me. So I I ended up taking over like all like 90 plus employees and
Wow.
all the departments. And so I was there for about 2 years and got my second promotion to manager and went to another adult hospital. And I was there for 4 years, through COVID, and left that in May
Oh
21.
no.
What was that
Yeah.
like? I mean, obviously you weren't like working directly, you
Oh, we
know,
were.
you were working directly
Hmm.
with
Hmm.
the patients. Okay, so I mean, obviously we saw what it looked like on Grey's Anatomy,
And from the
like
outside, like in our
yes,
own communities, but like I
yeah,
Yeah,
can't, that sounds like such a horrific nightmare to
it
have been
was.
in the hospital system during that time.
Yeah. I mean, the only plus side was that the hospital was less busy. So, like, it was quiet and not so hectic,
yeah.
except for when you're in the emergency department. The emergency department
Yeah.
was a madhouse. And it was rough because, especially because we were clerical. So, we're registration. We're the ones that would go get your insurance, your basic information, age, name, date, all that kind of stuff. We put you in the system. Uh, and they initially didn't want us in the emergency room. They wanted us to call the nurse to get to talk to the patient, but we had a hard communication base with our clinical staff already prior to that. So, like, trying to make that happen before a patient got discharged was like not going to happen. So my
Yeah.
staff stayed in person and would get dressed up in their full PPE, and but they weren't allowed to have a whole lot of PPE. So you had to reuse masks, you had to reuse, yeah, you had to reuse
Mm.
everything because they didn't have PPE for everyone.
Yeah.
Like, we weren't expecting a pandemic.
Especially in the beginning,
Yeah.
it was like I can
Mhm.
remember we were like using bandanas as masks and like what
Yeah.
is that even
Hmm.
gonna do? But
Yeah.
man,
Yeah.
Not
It
a
was
whole lot.
it's rough. And it's interesting now to like think back of how things were. And um it was just a mess for everyone. But yeah,
Yeah.
I can imagine being on the clinical side and just the additional stress. And I mean, for us, our stress came from, like, I had 15 open positions and my upline wasn't letting me backfill those positions. And so my staff, of course, was super stressed out that they had to work extra with the conditions that they were in. And my staff at the time also wasn't getting the hazard pay that everyone else in the hospital was getting. Yeah, that was my face
So
too.
you're equally exposed, but not compensated for it.
Yeah, and all the stress of taking all of that home to your families, like
Right.
just
And we're
horrible.
super short staffed. I'm the manager, so I'm working overnights in the emergency department. My supervisors are generally working days in their departments covering the open shifts, and then my staff is, I mean, everybody's just overworked. Like, it's exhausting. And yeah.
Oh, well, that makes my next question easy. How'd you find your way out of corporate? Because that would have done it in for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they let me go because they made me the fall guy. So
And you said, thanks, I'm out of here.
pretty much. So I actually was able to get my master's in business during the time that I worked for them. But it was May of 21 was a whirlwind of a month. My dad had a quintuple bypass surgery at the beginning of the month. So I went home to Arizona to be with him. I finished my master's on May 8th. I got fired on May 10th. And I went home to officiate my best friend's wedding on May 12th. So I had like a little vacation already planned. Yeah, so they let me go in May. And it really was, a blessing in disguise at the time. I was like, what am I going to do? Because I had just bought a house,
Yeah.
and I have 4 dogs, and like, you are relying on that income, like that.
Mm-hmm.
Now your mortgage is relying on that income that you no longer have. So yeah.
So that is immensely stressful, but like, how do you talk to me about the mindset, like when something like that happens, and it doesn't happen to everybody, but a lot of people go through this situation, and talk to me about what happens mentally. Like, what is your inner voice saying to you about what comes next?
lost, a whole lot of lost. I was very lucky. So I found Reiki in March of 21. And that actually was like kind of the kicker of like me knowing like corporate was not for me. Like
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize how dead my soul was until I found Reiki, and it brought me back to life. And I was like, oh, this is what joy feels like again.
This is what it's like to be a human.
Mm-hmm.
So the mindset mostly on a day-to-day basis after I got back from my little mini vacation and trying to figure out what I was going to do with my life was I got to survive initially. Like the first couple of years was like, I got to make this work. I got to make it happen. So it was really hard. I mean, I get seasonal depression, and I'm not clinically depressed, but depression is a very real thing, especially when you lose like your identity in your job. Like,
Yeah.
like how do you not get lost for a bit? So there's a lot of days where I just slept a lot. But the mental portion of like, you also get the option to kind of do whatever you want, like you kind of figure out like, okay, well, that obviously wasn't going well, so that's no longer an option.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, you go back to that.
into that. Like I had a couple interviews for a manager position at different hospital systems, but I'd like get out of those interviews. I was like, please don't call me back. Please don't call me back. Like I don't want that.
Needed a
Like,
new direction.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like all of a sudden there's a clean slate, and it's terrifying when you don't know
Absolutely
where
terrifying.
your next paycheck's going to come from, or what you're going to be doing, or what you're going to have to do to get that next paycheck.
Right.
But at the same time, like, it's exciting because it could be anything, right?
Right.
Like the world is your oyster.
Yeah. At that
Are
point,
you
it's
going to
kind of like coming
let
out
the
of college again.
excitement?
Like, now what do I do? Like the
Yeah.
world is so exciting. It can be so
Yeah.
exciting. So yeah, no, it was kind of a whirlwind of those two emotions of like, everything is shit and I'm just going to sleep through it. Or like, I have so many options. So what am I going to do next?
Yeah.
So yeah. So that was,
Deciding whether to be led by fear or excitement and motivate yourself to really plunge forward. Well,
right.
it sounds like you did.
Yes, yes, eventually. So I've done, everyone likes to joke that I really am the jack of all trades. Like I bartend, I still bartend sometimes, just because it's fun. But I was a kickboxing instructor. I worked for a pet care company. Um, I worked at Planet Fitness for a while. I drove Uber and Lyft. And like during the first couple years, because we're in 2025 now, so those first couple years I would usually work about 3 jobs a day at least to try and
Oh my gosh.
make things work. I'd like
That's
started
crazy.
kickboxing at 4 in the morning, and I was from there from 4 to 9, and I'd do some Uber and Lyft driving from like 9 to like 1 or 2, go home, check on the dogs, give them their dinner, and then I go bartend for the evening and then do it all again. So, um, yeah, it's kind of just like the hustle culture too. So,
Yeah, the work ethic is not your issue at all.
no,
Yeah.
not usually.
I was about to say, like, I I I don't want that, right? Like I don't want to
Right.
work morning, noon, and night at
No.
all, but your tenacity is to be commended for sure.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I didn't want to lose my house. I wanted to keep, I like my little corner of heaven. So,
Yeah, it's important. It's
right.
important to have your safe space. So tell us what led you to the business that you ended up starting then.
So, like I said, I found Reiki in May of 21. And though how I did it, I was able to practice on other people from that weekend. So I got trained in level 1 and level 2. There are 3 levels to Reiki, and I'll explain what Reiki is and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
So Reiki is a Japanese healing technique, and it actually comes from different cultures as well. So there are Indian heritages as well. But my lineage is Usui, and it helps it helps work through your chakras. It helps balance your chakras and lightens up your aura. So, um, what it did for me was help bring peace back. Like I said, I felt what joy was. It was like whole, like there was a lot that was lifted when I found Reiki for the first time. So I started doing Reiki, and I started doing that kind of like on the side and trying to build that business. And I had the gastric bypass surgery in July of 20. And I fooled the therapist of like, all like I know all the things and I'm totally fine. I don't eat my emotions and all that kind of stuff. I absolutely eat my emotions. But anyway, so I was able to lose 100 pounds from getting that surgery done. But
Wow.
I knew that for myself, I needed to fix my mentality around food and my relationship with food and how I was eating and all that kind of stuff. So I became a health and life coach personally for myself to fix myself first. And then I found that I could help other people do this. So yeah, I help people get out of their own way. So I started the Reiki and life coaching business in probably February or January of 22. So I kind of floundered for the first few months after getting fired, and just working random jobs. So then I started my LLC and started doing that a little bit as I moved into other things. I started working more with people for their Reiki, because people just, especially in the Midwest, they don't know what Reiki is necessarily. Or some people have like, oh, I've maybe heard of that once or twice. Like, what is that? What does that do?
Mhm.
So yeah, so I started the Reiki and life coaching, and then I got another job as a health coach at a local center, and it was a new position for them, so they had never had a health coach before. So they were like, do with it what you want, have a good time. So I was doing that, but then like 3 months in, they're like, we're changing your job completely, and now you're only going to do sales. I was like, nope, I'm not.
That has
So
nothing to do with health coaching. Like,
No.
by the
right,
way,
I'm like,
now you
health
sell
coaching is
cars.
like it's a part of like what I was doing, like selling the product that they wanted me to sell, but I'm like, that's not what I was hired for. So I had found my friend who hired me. She wasn't my friend at the time. She hired me. We became friends. We're now really good friends.
Mhm.
She told me about a massage therapy school that she just adored, because she used to work for one of the uh, franchises, like hiring and firing, like a Massage Lux or Envy.
Mhm.
And she's like, if you're good, like you should go to this school. So I started going to that school. So I left the coaching position. I started Ubering most of the time and going to school at night. And once I finished that in March of 23, 23? 24. I started it. I'm all over the place. But when I graduated from that, I was able to just kind of like jump in completely and start the massage therapy from the get-go. So now I do the massage coaching and Reiki all in one in my space now. So it's been a whirlwind, but
Yeah. What's the benefit of doing all of those things? Like, how can they work together to help people figure out how to get rid of this trauma that's left in their body after prolonged stress and burnout?
so we all know that massage feels good. People will come
Yes.
for the massage therapy just because for the one time and it was nice and relaxing. But a lot of people like complain or don't come back because they're like, well, it didn't do anything for like the overall stress, like it felt good for that one time, but it doesn't do. It's like one, any good habit, like you have to do it over and over again. Like working out once isn't going to be
Yeah.
the be all
You're
end
not
all.
going to get muscles because you lifted weights one time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
going back for massage therapy, you have to do it on a consistent basis for your body to really release everything that's there. But I specialize in those that have been through trauma and holding it in their bodies. And with the Reiki coaching and massage all together, we have coaching sessions to go through a little bit of the trauma. Again, I'm not a trauma therapist, so that's a different ordeal, and I have people to be able to refer you to that. But helping me understand where the trauma is coming from and where you may be holding that in your body, we can work through that with the energy and with the massage to move it out of your body. So if you've had a constant pain in your left shoulder, your right shoulder for 20 years and you're like, I just can't get rid of it. Or sometimes it just flares up, like it could be stress related. It could be something related. So like helping me understand where you're coming from, like what type of trauma you've been through, whether that be physical trauma, sexual trauma, mental trauma, you may be holding it in your body. And then we go through coaching sessions to understand where that's coming from. And then our massage and Reiki session is able to help move that out more quickly. But again, it's not just a one and done, and if you come in for a massage hoping that it's just going to relieve all of the stress and all of the trauma and everything's going to be gone from my body, I wish I was a magic worker like that, but it's not a one and done deal.
Yeah, I'm not sure anybody is, so
Right.
that's something you definitely have to work on over time.
Yeah.
So stress and corporate life kind of go hand in hand, right?
Absolutely.
I'm curious, just because I'm thinking, about my own experience and then also from the perspective of listeners. If I am in the middle of it, I'm in the grind, I know that I'm stressed. What symptoms from a physical standpoint? Because obviously trauma isn't just an emotional thing. It can be a very mental and physical thing as well. What
Mhm.
sort of symptoms can people like link to the stress that maybe feel completely unrelated?
Yeah. The ones that are usually very obvious. I mean, I get a lot of the clients that like, I feel it mostly in my shoulders and in my chest here. Like I like to really work the chest muscles when I'm working through with somebody because you don't even realize like working on your phone or on the computer, like these chest muscles are really weak. So getting those stretched out and pushed back, like you have so much relief because that's actually what's causing that issue in the back, in those traps. So part of that, I mean, that's usually what people come in for and they don't even realize it. But honestly, this is gonna sound kind of funny, but it's in your glutes. You, I can't even tell you how many people are like, I had no idea that was so tense. Like when I work through their glutes and it helps because it helps release everything because all of your muscles are being pulled either from your back down to your glutes or from your legs up to your glutes. So everything is being held in your hips. And then people that have sexual trauma, of course, are going to have some type of energy that's being held in there. So being able to help release that, it's magical for a lot of people.
I'm really glad you said that. I'm really, really glad that you said that that's normal. Because when I go get a massage and they're like, is there any place that we should avoid? I'm like, no. And they're like, is there anything? And I'm like, can you rub my butt? Like, don't forget my butt. Like, that's the most important thing to me.
Yeah.
Skip everything else and just rub my butt. And I
Yeah.
always think, I'm like, am I weird? And they're like, no, you're fine. I'm like, you're lying. I'm just weird.
No,
No,
but
it's
it would, right? That
mhm.
is where you would hold so much because just think of all the clenching. Like when you're stressed, when
Yes.
Yeah.
you're clenching and that
You don't even
is
realize that those are
yeah,
just always tense. Yeah.
yeah.
Yep. And
I always
especially
tell them
Mandy
to
from
avoid my butt
Don't
every
do it.
single
Oh
time.
no. No, no,
Don't
no,
it.
that's the best. And
Yeah.
it's funny
I
because
didn't
I think
know.
back to our days in corporate, like with all the travel, whether it was sitting in an airplane or
Mhm.
the driving, like that is the part that I would feel the most stress and pressure. Obviously, like lower back, shoulder, you get tense because you're sitting in the car, but
Right.
that like sitting in that position for so long and not being able to move around,
Hmm.
that's where I carried a lot of the tension.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that lower back pain is not going to go away without working the glutes.
That's so
Yes.
interesting.
Yeah.
Mandy's like, I knew it.
I
I
get a
knew it.
butt rub. I love it.
So obviously
They'll make
this
sure that
is
they're appropriate because those are not appropriate.
Yeah, I don't want a creepy one.
no,
Right.
we don't. We don't. Obviously, what we're talking about right now is tension. We hold a
Mhm.
lot of tension, but how about other physical, like you talked about that you had migraines, major migraines while you were in corporate. What are some things like that that you might see come up because you're carrying so much stress for a prolonged period of time?
The main thing that I like to work with my clients with, especially in the coaching portion, is just being mindful of how your body's responding. So, like, I noticed that I needed to get out of corporate when I would have a migraine all day when I'm at work. But as soon as I go home, oh, I'm fine. Like I no longer have that stress. So, I mean, I had so many migraines. Like, I was on FMLA for my migraines for in
Oh
corporate. So,
wow.
yeah, I mean, I would have them 3 to 4 times a week. I mean, I wasn't calling out that much, but I
Hmm.
I often went to work with a migraine. I felt awful a lot of times during that time. So I think mostly like it may not manifest as a migraine for you, like it did for you, Andy, but there are other things that like if you notice that like your stomach is constantly upset, you have IBS and you didn't have IBS before, like, or now you have an issue with some type of food, like it could be the food that's in the cafeteria, it could be something else, it could be just stress related because your body isn't able to actually digest the food the way it's supposed to because
Yeah.
your body is just always in a stress state. One of the things that I loved about my training is like talking about how like from now where we are in the corporate world versus like when we were, living in the jungle and like our bodies still function the same way. Your body responds the way it's supposed to stress. However, if you're living in a constant stress state, your body's never able to digest the food that you're eating. So it always sits like a brick in your stomach, or you're eating food that isn't nutritious for you. So you're not, and you're still not getting the nutrients because again, your body's not digesting it the way it's supposed to.
Hmm.
So like one of the examples that my trainer would give is like, your body responds as it's supposed to. Like you're sitting down to have lunch and then a tiger shows up, your digestion shuts down. So all of your energy can be sent to your legs and arms to run away, like,
Yeah.
so, but then like as soon as you're able to get away from the tiger and now you're in a relaxed state, you can go back to digesting your lunch. Like everything is back to normal. You're no longer in that stress state. However, now in the world that we live in, majority of us are in a constant stress state. Like our body doesn't know the difference between being chased by a tiger and getting yelled at by our boss and then holding on to that because now you're reeling that same conversation over and over and over in your head. And now, I mean, you've gained 50 pounds because you're not.
Because your boss is the tiger that won't leave.
Yeah. But
Exactly.
also, things that I ran into is it wasn't just while I was at work, it was leading up to it, going, oh, I'm gonna go have to do this. So I was like working myself up about things that
Hmm.
that I didn't want to do.
Yeah.
And then I felt it kind of all the time,
Yeah.
right?
You guys talked about the Sunday scaries and like how sometimes that
Yeah.
like starts to leak into Saturday too. And like,
Yeah.
it's just a constant state all the time. So being aware of how you're feeling all the time. Like I would do the same thing. I had surgeries so I could have downtime from work.
Yeah.
Wow,
I
that is a
I
mean,
red
had my
flag.
tonsils out. I had like a lump on my foot that I had removed. Like I would have sometimes surgeries that obviously my business would pay for, so I could have some downtime and not be at work all the time.
When you're like inspecting your body, what can do I have a mold
What
that
can I have
taken
done
care
today?
of?
Right.
Do
What's
I
going to
need
keep me
to
out for the
It's not considered
longest?
like
when
too
you're
elective, right?
voluntarily going to the dentist? Like what?
Right. Yeah,
That's a
exactly.
red flag.
No, I
Yeah.
But yeah,
hate
so
that
the
so
main thing,
much.
like
All right.
understanding your body and knowing like how am I feeling? How am I feeling outside of work? And when you're just living for the weekend and you're miserable
Yeah.
during the week, but that's, I mean, obviously we all enjoy the weekends that we have off, that you're, or whatever your daytime is that you're able to have off. Like, of course you're going to enjoy that more than being at work, regardless of whatever you do. However, if you're just living for the weekend and you're miserable, you need to find a passion. You need to find something outside of work, because we need corporate jobs. We need people that do corporate, and it's not, because running your own business or working for yourself is not for everyone. My dad always used to say that either you work for the man or you work for everyone else. You know, if you're your own business, then
Yeah, you work for everyone.
yeah, you work for everyone that's at your leisure. So
I have a question about inflammation. So obviously I had a lot of headaches, right? I also noticed a couple months after I left corporate, I wasn't having the headaches, but I also wasn't having most of the endometriosis pain I mean, it was so much whenever I was that stressed out. I didn't put it together. I just thought that my endometriosis was getting worse. And then I was out for a few months after I quit, and I was like, I haven't really had that pain. So, does stress really mess with inflammation too? Do you see that?
absolutely. I definitely see that, like wherever like kind of your hard spot is like where your inflammation is going to flare up. So like yours is the endometriosis. Like I said, it could be somebody that has like a little bit of gut issues, and then when they're super stressed out, like IBS like super flares up. Or it could be like, I don't know.
So like it targets your weak spot already.
Yeah, it definitely does. Yeah, so being able to control that stress is necessary, not just helpful, like it's necessary.
It is, it's necessary, but how do they do that, right? If you need to stay in a very stressful situation, whether it's corporate, whether it's whatever, you have 8 kids, it's going to be stressful.
Mhm.
How do you help that and stay in this stressful situation?
We joke about it a lot, you know, like how like I just need a breath, I just need a minute. Like, but really take that breath, take that minute, because that minute of like of conscious breathing is life changing. So if you do, even like if you're in a super stressful situation or before you go into a meeting that you know you're going to be stressed out about, like take a few minutes and do a what I call the 5-5-7 breath. You're going to hold, suck in for 5, inhale for 5, hold at the top for 5, and exhale slowly for 7. So you're going to breathe in, hold, and exhale. And doing that just 3 times slowly, and it just recalibrates your nervous system.
Yeah.
So it helps you. Doing that before you eat helps your digestive system, so you're not in that stress state. And I know a lot of people, especially in corporate, that will just continue eating through their lunch break, and they just keep eating, and it's not helpful for their digestive system. But being able to do those 3 to 5 breaths and then having your meal or going to the meeting or doing something like that, that honestly is a game changer, because I have a
So
few.
you're saying don't have working lunches.
Don't. I mean,
Okay.
preferably don't. But if you're going to, breathe beforehand. Make sure that you are taking a conscious breath, because one of my favorite facts about conscious breathing is like you can alleviate more toxins in your body from conscious breathing for a minute than you do in making a bowel movement. Yep.
Wow.
You can release more toxins from your body.
That is so interesting.
Isn't it?
I know that breathing is important, and I know that conscious breathing is really important, but I was never told any of that. But imagine in between every single task that you're doing, I mean, because what did that take? What, 10, 17 seconds, right? So
Yeah.
17 seconds, you do the breathing. Maybe you do it a second time. Let's do it for a whole minute and then you move on. Like that would have to help,
Oh yeah.
right? That would, I mean, I wish that I would have known about this. That would have
Hmm.
helped me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like
It's
even just doing that a while ago with you, it's like you're so much more consciously aware of your heart rate, how you're feeling. Like it's
Mhm.
like
Hmm.
I can feel it stabilizing. So
Right.
I can imagine that, and I'm not even stressed out right now. So
Okay.
I can
So when
imagine that it would
you're like,
make an
I'm relaxed,
impact.
and how much
Yeah,
better
like
I
I
would
thought I
feel if
was
I was stressed
good.
out. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that is
Absolutely.
a huge tip. So what are some other things that you would recommend when it comes to just maybe not even just in the moment, but full like lifestyle changes outside of work
Mhm.
or that could help?
Being present. We are always stressed out about something going on, like the anxiety. Me and my coworkers would always stress about like, what kind of meds are you on, or have they upped up your anxiety meds? Because everybody was on an anti-anxiety, was on an antidepressant, everybody was like on some type of heart pill, you know. But so types of changes to make in your everyday life is be present. Take a couple breaths and be focused on, and go outside. I mean, a lot of these seem like so basic and elementary, but like put your feet in the grass, play with your kids outside at the playground, you know, like have a picnic and enjoy the sunshine. So, because grounding and getting in touch with nature, you don't have to be a tree hugger. I mean, tree hugging is fun and it's helpful for, but you don't have to be a full tree hugger. But like spending time outside and being present in the moment, put your phone away. I mean, I'm super guilty. I don't have kids, and I'm very glad that I don't have a kid that's like, my mom was always on her phone. But,
Yeah.
you know, like,
Well,
you
don't
don't
worry. I got that covered.
you don't want your kids to remember you by always being on your phone, even if you are like taking a mental break and playing a game. Like
Mhm.
being present in the moment
That's
is
huge.
is what you need
Will
to
you
do.
explain grounding? Because I'm not sure everybody knows what that is.
Yeah, so grounding is super helpful. It's like I'm very much, obviously with Reiki and stuff, I'm very much into the energy of things, but the earth has a vibration, and it helps. Like when you go barefoot into the earth, it helps calm your nervous system. You are able to vibrate with the planet. And again, I know that sounds super hippy dippy, but
It's not though.
but it's beautiful. And like, I mean, who doesn't feel calmer when their feet are in the grass, like in the nice cool grass, or
It
in
makes me feel like a kid again, which is
right.
carefree and
Yeah.
calm. And, I guess in my head, it's like, and it feels nostalgic because it feels like childhood because I never
Hmm.
wore shoes when I was a kid.
Mhm.
Right.
But the reality is, it felt that way as a child for the same vibrational reasons as it feels that
Exactly.
way
Right.
now.
Because it feels like
So,
home, because it is.
yeah.
So being able to put your feet in the creek and walk up and down the creek. I used to live like by a small creek when I was a kid. That was always fun, making mud pies, all that kind of fun stuff.
Mhm.
But yeah, so there's a vibration within the the earth that helps you ground and helps calm your nervous system. There's a really cool thing that they actually have. You can buy one on Amazon for like $30. It's a grounding mat. You can put it on the floor, and it's great during the winter time to be able to help ground, because it gives you the same vibrations that the earth is providing for you without putting your feet on the cold ice that's
Mhm.
outside.
Yeah.
So if there's a grounding mat that you can get that helps with the same type of thing, but it helps just like neutralize and helps bring down your nervous system.
Yeah, so they actually make one that you can put on your bed. And
Yeah,
Dan got me one a couple years ago, and I really enjoy it. Like,
yeah.
I think that it helps so much because I'm not running around with my shoes off outside all the time, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah, you can just get it on Amazon.
Yeah, and
But
it helps, like I said, it helps calm your nervous system and probably helps you sleep better.
mhm,
Like if you have any issues with sleeping, then being able to do that,
yeah,
super helpful.
grounding is really important.
Mhm.
And I hope that people think of this less as hippy dippy and more as holistic, right? Because nothing that
Absolutely.
you've said today is let's find the right medicine for
Mhm.
you, right? Let's
Yeah.
find something that can numb this these
Because a lot of
feelings that
times,
you're
like,
having. It's like, let's actually fix it as
yeah, the
opposed
things
to,
that you can fix isn't going to be like an easy pill, you know, like
Mhm.
we're on a whole bunch of pills and I take a whole host of stuff too, but at the same time, like the things that are actually going to fix your nervous system isn't going to be a pill. It's going to be breathing well, and it's going to be taking care of your body, and it's going to be eating well. And it's not like even like dieting, like eat what you want, have the cupcake, enjoy it, but enjoy the cupcake. I mean, I don't probably couldn't even tell you how many of my clients are like, if you're going to have the cupcake, enjoy every bite. Like,
Mhm.
again,
Mhm.
be present even with your food, because that
Yeah.
slows you down and you actually take in all the flavors and all, like, if you're biting into an apple, like that juiciness, like,
Mhm.
it's just, it's a different experience when you actually are mindful to
Yeah.
what
Rather
you're doing.
than just cramming in your face. And
Mm-hmm.
I find that when I am in, of course, raised in public schools, you have to wait in line for your food. And by the time you get your food and sit down, you've got like 3 minutes until the bell rings. So you literally are cramming it in. And I ate like that for a long time just because that's just the way that it worked. But I find that when I slow down like that too,
Mm-hmm.
I eat a lot less. Like I give my brain a minute to catch up. And then I
Yeah.
realize, like,
And your stomach,
oh,
because you're actually full. Because a lot of times, like portion control is huge, because a lot of times, like you think of like Thanksgiving, everybody eats a mound of food and then you go take a nap because you're so full. Because, but it happens to us all the time. That afternoon slump that you often get is after lunch, because you ate so much, you didn't even realize how much you were eating. And again, your body wasn't able to, even if you ate healthy, but you ate so fast, your body wasn't able to take in the nutrients. So now your body's just like, well, we need a nap because we need a
yeah.
minute to like
Mhm.
take this all in. So
Because all of your energy has to go to
to digest.
digesting all this food that you just ate too
Mm-hmm.
fast.
Yep,
Absolutely.
Body science is weird.
it
It
is
is. It is.
fascinating.
So I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
You've talked about how holding all that trauma inside your body, whether it's physical or mental trauma, and you can help people, and there are things that can help people go in and get that trauma, pull it out so that you can feel a little more zen again.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us how that works.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of hard to describe in words, just because like when you talk about energy healing, like it's hard to like really comprehend and wrap your head around. But when you experience it and like you're able to take in the healing energy, it's I mean, I've had people just in tears on my table, because they're like, I don't know what you did, but that feels lighter, so
No, it does work, and I didn't know if you could explain it right, because
yeah.
all I can give are my feelings. But I
Mhm.
did a lot of therapy because of how I grew up, because of my corporate experience, because of just feeling out of control in my life, right? So I do all this therapy. Talk therapy was probably not the best way for me to go.
Mhm.
And I started doing Reiki, and I would just cry. And it's like, I don't know why I'm crying. Like, I
Right.
have no idea. No one's like pulling deep, dark secrets out of you. There's nothing like that happening. It's just
Mhm.
a feeling, right?
Yeah.
It's just you're laying there, and it's just a feeling that's coming out of you. And I don't know why I'm crying, but I feel amazing afterwards. And it's also not just a one-time thing. Like, you really do need to go back. But that was incredible for me because I didn't know about any kind of holistic healing
Mhm.
while I was in corporate until I started networking and meeting all of these wonderful people in wellness. And the Reiki, I can't even, I mean, I could talk about it for years. I did inner child work as well within that.
Yeah.
And uh, it's, it's crazy. So anybody who's like, I don't believe in stuff like that, uh, I can't tell you why it works, but it
That's
does. And it helped more than years of therapy. Like,
yeah.
just 7, 8 times going. That was
Mhm.
so crazy to me.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's a beautiful thing. And I think like being able to, I guess, describe more so of like how energy works with us, like energy runs everything. Energy runs our clocks, it runs our computers, it runs all of our electricity. Like you're able to have sun panels because it's collecting energy from the sun to make things run. I mean, that's, you are made of energy. So when your energy is off and you're feeling like, I don't either, or I don't give a shit, or I don't know, like I don't care about anything anymore. Like that's a pretty good sign that your energy's off and you should probably get some work done personally, professionally, you know, like, so yeah, it's hard to describe like how exactly it works or does its thing, but because it's a focused energy, you're working on like what is going on in your body. And I use a pendulum, so it's a stone that helps me know whether or not your chakra is open or closed, or if it's too open. We just need balance, just reining it in, or being too much. Because there are people like, so say you know somebody that like their heart chakra is super open and they're going to tell anyone and everyone that has ears about whatever's on their heart, you know, like that person has too open of a heart chakra and isn't balanced in other things. And it's so reining it in and bringing balance to that. But then you also have people probably like me that have like a stone wall that are super shut off to letting people in. Their heart chakra isn't super open, or like when you're feeling like you can't like speak honestly to a person, whether that be your boss, your spouse, your kids, then your throat chakra is closed off, and we need to help open that up to bring your voice back to help you speak your truth. So
That's a lot.
yeah.
Like, and completely over my head. But when it comes to, I'm just thinking about some of the things that you're saying, going, well, that's me. Well, maybe this is a route that I should go. And thinking about the ways that I felt in corporate, and obviously you made this point earlier, like getting out of corporate doesn't take stress completely away. Like life throws
Right.
that at you, and it continues in several different ways. So, um, in thinking about that, I know the other part of your role now in your own business is in life coaching. So, do you recommend that people do like a little of both, or like how do those elements of life coaching and the massage therapy and the Reiki and all of that, how do they work in tandem?
So primarily they work with, I mean, I have a few clients that like they feel completely lost. They don't know what they're doing from day to day. Or like, let's say I have somebody from corporate that comes to me that they're like, I like my job most of the time, you know, but I don't really know what I'm doing. I need to find my passion outside the job. I'm going to keep this employment because it pays all the bills and it's great and I do like it most of the time, but like otherwise I'm just like super unfulfilled. So being able to do the coaching, my aspect of coaching is being able to like figure out what's in the way, what are you self-sabotaging? So how can we bring back that joy and that light into your life? So I mean, I don't know what that is necessarily right off the bat. So figuring out, I have a 12-week program primarily that I kind of focus on. So we focus on like one aspect. We kind of break it down in like different groups of like finances, career, family, health, like your relationship with your spouse, your relationship with yourself, different aspects of like what's the most important. Where do you feel like you're thriving in this area? Like career is great, that's awesome, but like I have no creativity and I want to liven that up. So we figure out what type of things bring life to you. Like, do you want to take a pole dancing class? Do you want to start painting? Do you want to, you know, like, but kind of figuring out what that is to bring that passion back into your life. That way you're a better employee. You're a better boss when you go back to that work on Monday. So, cause you're like, I had an awesome weekend and I don't even care what comes on Monday because it was great and I can handle anything that's coming at me. So
Yeah, I
yeah.
think that happy people make better employees in
Mhm.
general,
Yeah.
regardless of your skill set. If you're
Right.
enjoying your life, you're gonna be better. It
Right.
makes a ton of sense.
Yeah. So the coaching portion is primarily focusing on like how to get out of your own way because we self-sabotage and we don't even realize it. And I think that's the main thing. Like when people don't really know what a life coach is or like why they need a life coach, because I feel like everyone needs a life coach. I have a life coach. So like being able to, because I think it's a lot like therapy where like, but if you don't necessarily need therapy, like they don't think that, I wasn't abused, or I wasn't going through trauma. I wasn't like, I don't need a therapist necessarily, but I'm also kind of lost in what I'm doing. Like, I don't know what my next step is. And that could be, again, like in your career, it could be in your relationship. Like, you could be super unhappy in your relationship, but you don't, like, you still love your spouse. So how do I fix it? It could be a you problem. It could be a both of you problem. So like being able to understand what are your parts in it and how can you change parts of you to get in a better path. So I just help people really get out of their own way and get out of their head, because a lot of times what our issues are is something that we don't even realize are right in front of us. You have those blinders on that you don't even realize are hindering you from making the better move forward.
I love that. I love all of that. I obviously there are going to be people who are like, I just need to find my joy and I need to find my passion again, and I need help figuring out how to just find some happy. You're going to be perfect for them. But there are life coaches that do all kinds of different things, right? So just I want everyone to understand that not all life coaches are the same,
Right.
because our life is, this
Yeah,
big.
it's huge. And there are
So,
different coaches out there for different things. Like there
mhm,
are career coaches that are focused on like your job and like how to get to your next step and how to do the next thing.
mhm,
There are others that are like, I've met some that are like grief coaches. So like when you talk about like either losing a spouse, going through a divorce, or through death, or losing a job, like I could have used a grief coach when I lost my job and kind of figuring out what I was doing with my life.
mhm,
Or losing your house or any type of loss. It's
mhm.
not just like because you're mourning someone. It can be any type of loss
Yeah.
helps. Like finding a grief coach for that is
Mhm.
super helpful. But
Yeah.
but yeah, there are different coaches in different realms to be able to focus in. But finding the right one that works for you. Majority of coaches will have like a free 30-minute consultation conversation to see like if this is going to work out well for either one of us. Like I also have the opportunity of being like, I don't know if I want to work with you.
Yeah, it
because
has to be
because
mutual.
my system isn't going to work well for you.
Mhm.
Like regardless of what that is. I mean, the way that I coach things may not work for everyone that
Yeah.
comes across.
Which
So
makes perfect sense. And I'm glad that you brought that up because, I think there's some misconceptions about, or maybe even controversy around life coaches. I was doing a little research and it turns out there are no like certification requirements or anything like that in the United States to be a life coach.
I don't
So
have to
if
go to
I am looking for a life coach, let's say I'm like, I want to try this, but like I want to, I want to know that I'm getting life advice from a
Mhm.
credible source.
Right.
What kind of questions should you be asking? You said that they usually have that 30-minute consultation for free, to kind of check things out. What should they be looking for in a life coach?
One is connection. So you want to know who you're talking to. Being able to get a little bit of their own story of like why they became a life coach and understanding like what their why is behind what they're doing is super helpful. But also like knowing that their program is going to be helpful for you. So um, when I go through my initial like 30, 45 minute conversation to meet with somebody to find out if we're a good match, I go through like a mental rehearsal. So it's kind of a meditation where we kind of walk through like what do you see yourself doing in the next 3 months? Like what in this realm, like because we went through like the 10 different categories of like of love, career, finance, all that stuff, right? So we went through and found out where your problem area is. So now we're going to go through a mental rehearsal, a meditation of figuring out like what does that really look like for you in 3 months? Like what does your ideal self look like in 3 months? So then being able to kind of be more specific, and then that helps me curate your program for the next 12 weeks to where we actually get there. So um, the questions to ask are really a lot of easy flowing. Like you want to know who you're talking to. Obviously, you're not going to necessarily know them in depth in the first 30 minutes, but at the same time,
Yeah.
like, again, it's that energy. Like you can tell within the 30, 45 minutes of like, yeah, this is going to work. Like, I can do this, like, or this
So
is
if it feels off, trust your gut and
absolutely
Yes.
100% trust your gut. Like, this person isn't for me. Like, I've had a few of those, like, for myself being like, this person isn't going to take my route very well, like, because it is a holistic approach, and there's a lot of things that you have to do on your own, and they don't necessarily want to hear what I have to say. So like, I could tell from the first 30, 45 minutes of talking with them that this isn't going to be a good fit. But yeah, trusting your gut on that
some
is
people just don't want to do the work. Like the
Mhm.
work was coming to you, not continuing on with the homework you give me.
Right.
Mhm. So, do you recommend that people get um, referrals and or like testimonials and really like find out if this person has ever helped anybody if they're looking for a life coach?
Yeah,
Like,
I
I
mean,
think that that's where I would start to like, we need to connect. If we don't connect, then we're out. But so we
right.
connect, and now I want to talk to some people who you've coached because right, I could decide I'm a life coach tomorrow. There are really good ones, and I'm sure that there are really bad ones, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that I would definitely
Absolutely.
go and
Referrals
talk to
are
people.
the best way to get any type of clients
Hmm.
anywhere. But yeah, so like talking or like hearing from my previous clients that have worked with me of how they felt.
Hmm.
But I do think that like for me, like my biggest challenge as a coach is being able to get that 30 to 45 minutes with somebody, because a lot of people don't think that they need a life coach.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
but when they sit down and they have that initial conversation with me, they're like, oh, well, this could be really helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
maybe you can help me. Which
Well,
it
I
sounds
think
like
it's
very
like kind of
broad, but
it's the stigma, right? Like of like I don't need help. I'm fine.
right,
It's like the people who don't go to therapy. It's not that I don't believe in it. I just don't need it, right?
right,
Like because I'm not broken. I'm
right,
like give it a
right.
chance, man.
Yeah, we're
We're
not
all
all broken.
broken.
Well, but we're not all broken either, but we can be better, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
We can
exactly.
talk
Yeah.
things through with
Mhm.
a person who is not in our family or our friend
Hmm.
group. I really believe that, and I've never had a life coach, but I think that since there are so many different like places to go, like I bet that I could use a life coach for being a bonus mom. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like I
For
Yeah.
sure.
guarantee that there are people who help people through that so that I could be, because I've never done this before. This is
Right.
still just a few years old for me. And I know that I could be better at it,
Mhm.
right? So it's like we all have something in our life because a life coach isn't you suck at life and now
Right.
you just have to have somebody tell you what to do forever. Like
Yeah.
they'll make
Yeah.
all of your
Like
decisions
you're a
for
new
you.
you get a new set of parents.
Yeah.
Right.
No, but we all have something that we can in our life that we can be better at.
Mhm.
And there are life coaches for all of those things.
Yeah.
Every single thing someone has the experience to say, here's what you do to be a better bonus parent. Here's what you do to help keep peace, within your family unit, but also, this. So I can just imagine
Yeah.
that anything that you're going through, somebody can coach you through it.
Mhm.
It's not that you suck at life.
Right.
It's that
'Cause-
there is somewhere where you can improve in your
Yeah.
life.
And a lot of people like they think that they don't need a life coach. So they're like, well, I could just like go talk with my friend, have a coffee, and I don't have to pay somebody to like listen to my problems. Like that's because but also like depending on the friend, that friend isn't necessarily going to kick you in the
Yeah.
ass and be like, get your shit
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's not what we're doing today. So
Yeah, and sometimes it's like the blind leading the blind. Mandy and I are, it's so funny because we therapize each other all the time. And it's like, are we really qualified to really walk
So
through this? So
the
we,
answer is no. We're not
yeah, not at
qualified,
all.
but we have each other's backs and we tell each other the truth and
And we do kick each other in the butt when it needs to
yeah,
happen.
right.
So at
yeah,
least we have
and we
that.
make changes because of our conversations. And we've already talked about this on the podcast before, but
Repeat.
it's not wrong what we're doing, right? If
Right.
Right.
we were
For sure.
failing at life because we gave each other really bad advice, that would be different.
Yeah.
But
But
could
I will say it's
somebody
not enough. It's
It's
not
not
enough,
enough.
Right.
right?
Yeah,
It's
you
right.
still got
Because
to do the other
that's just it.
things.
That's the point. Yeah. Yeah. You can do that. Go have coffee with your friends. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Vent. Like have a good time. Go talk with your mom. Like
Hmm.
all those things. Those are really helpful, great things. However, if you need a cheerleader in your corner to be like, you're doing awesome. Like I had one client that came in, she hadn't done any of her homework for the week. She really didn't want to come. She's like, I almost canceled on you, but she comes in and she's like already in tears, like before she even like pulls up. And so she talks through her week and like we went through some of the stuff. I was like, look at all the shit you did. Look
Hmm.
at like these are all the things that you did do. Like stop downing yourself for all the things that you didn't do, but look
Hmm.
at all the amazing things that you did. So I mean, I for her, especially that day, like that's what she needed. That was
Hmm.
her like convincing point of that she enjoyed and needed a life coach. Like having
Hmm.
somebody in her corner to even just remind you of like, look at all the badassery that you do.
Hmm.
Like,
Badassery. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good word. I absolutely love it. So this is great. I am so glad that we talked through all about life coaching because it is such a big thing that you do, but it's such a thing that could help so many people in different parts of their life.
Mhm.
And there are, Kalina mentioned it earlier, there are people who help you figure out the next steps in your career, right? Not a recruiter, not a,
right.
but like an actual career coach who can say, take all of your feedback of how it's been going in corporate or in whatever job you're in and say, let's let's start to go in this direction. Let's work together to find the direction that you're supposed to go in. And so that's a good option for a
And you guys
life
had,
coach too.
yeah,
Hmm.
you guys had mentioned in one of your previous episodes of talking about like, again, the people that aren't able to leave their corporate job, but being able to find what brings them joy outside of that. So, I mean,
Hmm.
that's
Mhm.
another good reason to have a life coach too. Because if you're like, this is great. Like I like my job most of the time. I'm not going to leave it anytime soon unless they make me.
Hmm.
But being able to find out what brings you joy outside of the office and what
Hmm.
and what you can also bring into that office. Like what can you bring joy to your team? Because like we said before, if you're a miserable human being, like you're going to be a cancer in the department, honestly.
Hmm.
So,
And on yourself, like on your
mhm.
personal life, because there's no
Yeah,
way to keep those separate if you're that
right.
Yeah.
unhappy. I
You become a
definitely,
cancer in your own family too. Yeah.
Hmm.
yes,
For sure.
I definitely think that we might have to have you on again at some point because I do have on my list. I want to have that full conversation about how you, right, this job that you have pays the bills. You don't hate going there. Everything's great except for that it doesn't spark joy for you. It doesn't creatively fulfill you. It doesn't, so like what can you be doing? How can you prioritize your time? How can you figure out what those things are to be fulfilled in life when what you're doing 8 to 10 hours a day isn't
Isn't
helping at
making.
all?
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a good
Yeah,
question. And
because some people, yeah, just aren't in a bad situation. They just,
right.
I
it's,
would say that's probably the majority of corporate America, right? Like,
mhm,
Right. And
I'm
that's where
good
that
at
burnout
it.
really comes in because you're not able to like that work-life harmony that you guys were talking about, like
mhm,
being able to actually bring that harmonizing part, that actually brings the balance and the joy back into your job.
mhm,
Hmm.
Because you can be working at a factory job and that's fine. And it pays the bills. And again, like you like the job enough,
mhm,
but bringing joy, like being able to have that joy inside of you just spills out into everything else anyway. So
mhm.
why wouldn't
Yeah.
you want that? Like, why wouldn't
Yeah.
you want to do more of that, whatever that is, to make it through the 8 hour shift that you have at the factory?
I
Mhm.
think
You
too
know?
many of us have convoluted our identity with our job. And that makes it really hard to find joy outside of that. And so when you do lose that spark inside of your role, it's like a scary, scary thing of like, who even am I? Because that is
Mhm.
who I am, and I don't even like
Right.
this anymore. And I think it's really smart to suggest that you find those ways of finding that joy and the harmony outside of work because that can make work better. You got into it because you liked it at some point, right? Or at least it wasn't hell. It didn't suck.
Right.
Um, and too many of us are looking for that complete happiness or for your job to provide that overwhelming sense of joy that it doesn't always, it's work. Sometimes it's just going to suck, right?
Right.
So, what can we do to find that joy in other places and reduce the amount of stress and the exhaustion to be able to physically be able to go do those things that are going to bring in the joy outside of our jobs.
Yeah.
I think that's where the magic comes in, and it sounds like I need a life coach.
Come see me because I do digital too. So
Yeah.
you're in Texas, right?
I am, yeah.
Perfect.
You guys will have to talk
Yeah.
after this. Well, this was so fun
Yeah, it was.
for
Thank you.
me. This is
Yeah.
always a great conversation, talking about more holistic ways to figure out how to balance your life, balance your, get rid of that trauma, all of the things. I just love it so much. And I know that our listeners could get a lot from you, whether it's life coaching, whether it's if they're in the St. Louis area, doing Reiki or massage with you. Obviously, they can find something in their town, somebody who does Reiki. Is there anything that you would recommend people to find a good Reiki practitioner?
It's also trusting your gut. Don't just find anybody that's the first one on Google. Energy work is a very personal thing.
Yeah.
So even though like with a Reiki practitioner, they're not putting their hands on you majority of the time. I do a lot of times with my clients, but I also get that permission. But because it's still a very personal, like you said, like there's a lot of times that you're crying on at the end of the session. So it's like it's just a very personal thing. So knowing, being able to trust your gut again is huge. Knowing whether or not you trust being with that person. And a lot of times, again, they should give you a little freebie of like giving their time that way, because they know that this is a personal experience. Like, and I'm not going to be everyone's cup of tea. So figuring that out early is huge.
Yeah, it has to be a match.
Yeah. The nice thing, the beautiful thing about Reiki though, is that it's always good energy. So it's not like some spiritual creepy voodoo thing. Like that's when you say sending you good vibes, that's Reiki. Like it's all good energy that comes through. So it's not, even if you're going to be like, oh, I'm not super sure about this person, and you're going to go through the Reiki session anyway, there's nothing bad that can come of it. So know that you can still get good energy, even if you're like, oh, I'm not quite sure about that person. Maybe you just don't go back.
But yeah, right. Like just know when you go through it, like if it's not what you were looking for, move on to the next one.
Right.
Yeah, and ask your friends and family. I would assume, like you said earlier, a referral is the best way to know if somebody has had a great experience with somebody. So
Yeah.
I would have never even known to ask before I started networking, and now I've met so many people who do something similar to you.
Yeah.
And it's so helpful. So just ask your friends and family, see if anybody knows anyone, even put it on Facebook and ask for recommendations, and somebody knows somebody.
Absolutely.
Well, Caleena, thank you so much for your time today. I've very much enjoyed it. For those in your area or that are interested even in finding you in the virtual world, where can people find you?
So I own the Renewal Haven. So if you find me, my website is therenewalhaven.com. I'm on Instagram at The Renewal Haven and Facebook, The Renewal Haven. So that's my personal. And my name's Caleena Karstens. In Instagram, my personal is Caleena Lael. So if you want to.
Perfect.
We will put all of those in the show notes for people to click on and go straight to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yes,
Can't wait for everyone to hear this.
Thank you. I appreciate your time. Thanks for having me.
Wonderful.
Thank you. Have a
All
good
right.
day.
Bye,
You too.
guys.